During the last month of 2024, drones dominated the news ecosystem, with reports popping up almost everywhere, but especially in New Jersey. And then, just as quickly as they seemingly burst onto the scene, they were gone, without any real explanation from either the outgoing or incoming presidential administration. Talk about drones has largely fallen by the wayside. So what happened? What were they? And will they be back? We'll take a look at the drone phenomenon in today's episode of The Weekly Strange. Hello, friends, and welcome to The Weekly Strange. I'm your host, Jon F. Merz, author, actor, adventurer. What is The Weekly Strange? Well, it's a show about some of the crazy and bizarre stuff I come across during my work writing books and screenplays. Some of these are just true facts that not a lot of people know about. Some are weird news stories, and some are just outright bizarre and can't be categorized at all, except that they're, well, strange. We'll cover a wide array of topics on this show. Last week we talked about new Bigfoot tracks found in southern Maine, and this week we're talking drones. But before we begin, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our new content when it's uploaded. Thanks. Okay, let's talk drones. Where were you when all of a sudden the news started becoming flooded with reports about strange lights in the sky? I was gearing up for the holiday season, enjoying having the house decorated, and the next thing I know, everyone is spotting drones in the night sky. Now, I actually own a nice drone that I use to get some great shots on a special film project called Lawson that is based on my best-selling Lawson Vampire novel series, so I felt I had at least a passing knowledge of what drones are capable of. It wasn't like I was, one of the dinosaurs in Congress who had to rush to the World Wide Web to see what a drone was, wink, wink. Now, these things first started showing up in New Jersey, and from there, they sort of spread everywhere else. I mean, my wife and I were out one night here in Massachusetts, and we saw several drones in the night sky. Of course, by that point, you likely had a lot of people, drone owners themselves, who were simply getting involved for no good reason other than to perpetuate the hysteria, so to speak. But what were the drones, the real drones, to be concerned about, doing over the skies of the United States? The most obvious answer is that they were some sort of surveillance operation launched by an enemy state or organization. The drones in New Jersey were spotted over Picatinny Arsenal, a military base in northern New Jersey responsible for the development of munitions and other special projects. If you're a firearms owner, you might be familiar with the Picatinny rail system that allows for special tools like flashlights, laser sights to be attached to your weapons. It was developed at this base. But Picatinny is far from the only military base buzzed by the drone swarms of 2024 and beyond. In Virginia, Langley Air Force Base was also on the receiving end of drone attention, and maneuvers by the U.S. Navy off the California coast were also reportedly constantly harassed by dozens of drones. So, what exactly is going on? Is this the drone apocalypse, or Drone-ageddon, or drone doomsday? At the end of his presidency, the Biden administration all but poo-pooed the notion that we had anything to fear from the drone invasion. And incoming Trump said that the government obviously knew what was going on, and he swore that he'd have answers for the American people on day one of his new term. But he has yet to deliver on that promise. Now, before everyone starts blabbering off about the deep state and some sort of government conspiracy, let's take a step back. Some of you may have heard of Occam's razor before. Some of you may not. And if you haven't, then this principle is attributed to a 14th century friar named William of Ockham, who said that when you have competing ideas to explain a phenomenon, the simpler one is usually the correct one. Now, in the case of our drone incursion, we could posit several different ideas to explain the phenomenon. It might be some sort of deep state surveillance program designed to keep watch over the citizenry of the United States, or one of the other theories I heard was maybe aliens are actually really tiny and fly around in these ships we call drones, and they're checking out our aerial defenses for a coming invasion of our planet. Or it might just be that a hostile nation like Russia, China, Iran, or North Korea find it far easier to surveil our military bases using drones than by parking a fishing trawler out at sea and trying to intercept signals and communications the way they had to do it during the Cold War. I mean, you tell me, which one of these explanations sounds most likely? Now, I know that the deep state is this whole thing with a whole lot of people who believe in shadow governments and all that jazz, and it's like kind of vogue right now, deep state this, deep state that.
In your phone was a GPS sat tracker. Pulses at 24 gigahertz.
I don't know what that means.
It's like a low jack, only 2 generations better than what the police have.
And what does that mean?
You speak English?
Obviously not that well.
You're kind of a jerk, aren't you? It means the NSA can read the time off your fucking wristwatch.
But I got to tell you, as a veteran and an ex-government employee, the notion of a deep state, I'm sorry, it just cracks me up. Like, seriously. This idea that there's a shadow network of people manipulating reality is honestly hysterical to me. All you have to do is take a trip to your local DMV or any other government bureaucratic institution and then multiply your frustration factor by 10 minimum. That's what it's like on the federal level. You think bureaucracy at the town and state level is bad? It's a million times worse at the federal level. There's no way to guarantee silence. There's too much paperwork to fill out, for crying out loud. Now, as far as the other theory that we just talked about, and really, I love this theory. I think it's great. And I'm not saying that it couldn't happen. I mean, who the hell knows, right? But as far as the tiny alien invasion force, well, we'll get to UFOs or UAPs at some other point in another show, but I just highly doubt there are small aliens whizzing through the sky in tiny spaceships. Which leaves us with the third explanation: foreign enemies using drones to spy on us. Now, drone technology is a fantastic equalizer because you can equip them with state-of-the-art spy tech for far less money than it would take to platform that tech on a plane, satellite, or ship. And we're dealing with, enemy states that don't have nearly the financial ability to throw expensive gear on planes and ships and satellites with abandon. Instead, drones offer them an easy and affordable means to accomplish the same mission. And as we've seen in the Ukraine war, Slava Ukraine, drones are very much a tremendous equalizer on the battlefield as well. When I can lob a relatively inexpensive drone up into the air to go destroy a $4.5 million Russian T-90 tank, I mean, that's a great bargain. Even if the drones cost $2,000 each, which they don't, it's a tremendously great buy. And in the case of the U.S. Navy being harassed off the coast of California, there was a nearby freighter registered out of Hong Kong that the Navy officials believed was the home port for the drones that were buzzing the ships in this particular fleet. It's easy and convenient, especially in international waters. But what about here in the States? Like, where would these drones stage from? Literally anywhere. While the North Koreans and Iranians and Russians might have to work harder to keep a low profile, the Chinese have an astounding number of students here in the U.S. It's a veritable fifth column of potential intelligence officers and saboteurs. Whole groups of them could have easily been mobilized to set up and fly these drones out of their cars, collect any information they could, and then upload it to a cloud server where it can be downloaded back in Beijing. We saw it with the spy balloons that were sent up into the upper atmosphere. It's a similar concept. Cheap and inexpensive platforms with good technology that enables intelligence to be collected without much risk or downside. The drones are the same type of operation. But whereas the spy balloons could be detected with radar and other systems, the drones are much harder to pinpoint. And by the time they were noticed in December, they were already engaged in their collection missions. And if you remember the spy balloon incident, we had to wait until this thing traversed the entire swath of the country before we could shoot it down over the ocean so as to minimize any risk to civilian populations. We face that same problem with drones. You can't just knock them out of the sky because they could easily destroy homes, cars, and potentially even kill people when the debris falls on them. Yeah, I mean, some of them are small, but according to a report on 60 Minutes last week, certain military officials said that some of the drones that buzzed Langley Air Force Base in Virginia were the size of small cars. So we face a real problem with these things, right? Because it's also part of a larger systemic issue. We have so-called leaders in Congress who are too old to appreciate what new tech is capable of. We have presidential administrations on both sides that fail to keep pace with changing technology and the threats those changes bring about. And then we have a news media that sensationalizes the drone apocalypse until people are freaking out and thinking everything in the sky is a drone. Meanwhile, our enemies laugh and start thinking up the next thing they can do to catch us unaware. What is needed then is a proactive approach to these threats so that we can see advances on the horizon and take steps to undercut any threat they may pose. I mean, look at the battles over artificial intelligence, or even TikTok. You got millions of Americans who freely hand over their data to a Chinese company that stores it in massive data banks. And it's important to remember that China is still a communist country, and ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, very much exists at the whim of the Chinese Communist Party. If the Chinese Communist Party wakes up tomorrow and tells ByteDance to hand over all of that sensitive information on American citizens, ByteDance will do it in a heartbeat. To think otherwise is naive and foolish. But it's too late to do much about it now. Millions of Americans actually earn a living on TikTok. We missed our chance to protect ourselves, just as we will presumably miss our chance to protect against the evolution of drone technology. Something else to remember, drones don't only fly. Some of them are small, like remote-controlled cars. Some of them look like insects. Some crawl on the land. You can literally make them look like anything. And in the quest for better intelligence, you can bet that our enemies are investing in the perfection of this technology to stay one step ahead of us. The government knows this, which is why they probably try their best to downplay it. But pulling the covers up over your head never works. We need to stay vigilant and have transparency, especially when it comes to technological development. A vigilant citizenry mobilized by an open and decent government is far more preferable than a paranoid population traumatized by the media. In the end, the great drone deluge of 2024 will likely continue for some time to come. The media cares less about it because in their 24-hour news cycle, it's simply more of the same and no longer has the excitement that it did a few months ago. But the threat continues, and until such time as we take steps to protect against drones and the new generations coming down the pike, we will continue to be susceptible and indeed vulnerable to their operations. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time on The Weekly Strange. And be sure to check out the other shows on this channel like The Other Side of Midnight, where we talk to callers all about their paranormal and weird experiences, and our other show, The Hunted, where we discuss true crime fugitives still on the run from justice. Be sure to like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our new uploads. And if you're interested in reading any of my books, head on out to Amazon.com, do a search for Jon F. Merz, and I'm pretty sure I've got something for everybody out there. Urban fantasy, thrillers, mystery, horror, you name it, I've written it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.